Agriculture is a method of farming system which primarily aims at cultivating land and raising crops. Before now, the occupation was largely considered to be for old people. But in recent times, the youth are beginning to take into agriculture. I have joining me in the studio today a youth known as Sassy Farmer. I say Sassy Farmer in the sense that she's not your regular farmer. And in the course of this program, you will be meeting my guest. We'll be talking about urban agriculture or urban farming, which is promoted as a viable strategy to support the food demands of the increasing urban population in the global south. So I have joining me a farmer. Her name is Ijeoma Udulwe. She is the CEO of Justly Farms and Consult with over a decade of experience in business strategy development and business model innovation for agri-business. One notable thing again about Ijeoma is that she holds the esteemed position of President Agricultural Cooperative Society Limited for the Women Chambers of Commerce and Industry in Nigeria, WCCI. Ijeoma, thank you so much. This has
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here.
Let's discuss farming generally. You know, we call you Sassy Farmer because, like I did said earlier on, during the course of the introduction, one were the days that the farming business is majorly adjudged to be for older people alone. But nowadays, you guys are taking the bull by the horn. So I
Yes.
want to ask, what actually informed your decision to delve into farming?
My journey into agriculture or agribusiness is actually, it wasn't something I actually wanted to get into, but I just needed a platform to express myself. And agriculture seemed to just happen. I studied geology. I'm a geologist by
Wow.
profession. I have a master's degree. But then, when I got into agriculture, I tried to marry where I'm coming from to what I'm doing currently. And like I tell people,
To do with soil
introduce
too?
exactly. So you can imagine interacting with the soil. You get to know the kind of properties you have in the soil and how it affects your plants and all that. So I think that's actually a very good
And they're
marriage.
interconnected in a way.
Exactly. So I would say geology introduced me to nature, but agriculture gave me a whole experience in nature. So I actually got into agriculture after youth service. And one of the things that drove me into agriculture was the mere fact that I didn't want to sit at home waiting for jobs. Yeah, white collar jobs. And somehow at the back of my mind, I already know I may not really enjoy sitting down at the back of the table and waiting for. I love the field. As a geologist, I love the field.
Exactly.
So I need to do something that would allow me work in the field. And agriculture happened to be one of those things that happened. So I started very small, just keep myself busy. But I noticed the more the days went by, my passion for agriculture grew. And then I found a gap in agriculture or agribusiness. Let me not use the word
Agribusiness. I'm going to
agriculture.
use
So,
agriculture or
so,
farming in the
so let's say
course of this program
agribusiness.
again. Agribusiness.
So when I got into agribusiness, I found out that young people shy away from that, agribusiness because of the image we put out there. Now, if you go online and you type agriculture in Africa, most of the pictures you're going to see are old people, like you rightly said, carrying rickety farm tools. Excuse me, who wants to break her back in the sun, tilling the ground just to make ends meet? The Gen Zs don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. So that's the image we saw, trending online. But there's a whole lot of opportunity in the agribusiness, the value chain of agribusiness. So I just felt, okay, since I love to inspire young people to do, to go beyond borders and do what they need to do, then I think I need to do that for them in agribusiness. I made my, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I started all roles in the beginning. I made my mistakes. I made my losses. There were also times of success and all that, but found my passion in agribusiness. So it wasn't really about the money. There's money in agribusiness, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
Like
wow.
there's a whole lot of money and opportunity there. But that wasn't my driving force. I wanted to bridge that gap. I remember the experiences I had the first time I went out to get a property that I was going to cultivate, some hectares of land. And my contact person, I had not seen him. I was supposed to go meet with him, and then he goes, showed me the place and all. So when I met him and he looked at me like, are you the one or are you representing somebody? I'm like, I'm the one. I want to do the farming. I'm like, he picked my palm and touched it. I'm like,
Can you
you
imagine?
don't look like someone
That
that
can
can farm. So what is it? You know? So I always get that expression on people's faces when I tell them, I love to introduce myself as a farmer.
Exactly.
I'm like, you don't look like a
Like a
farmer.
minute.
I love that intrigue people tend to have when I introduce myself. And at the end of it, they're like, okay, how do I get involved? I think I like your perspective on agribusiness. How do I get involved in agribusiness? So I know there's something there. And we need to advocate more, and show people that actually agribusiness is the way to go in Nigeria. Talking about Nigeria as a country, agribusiness introduced us to the world, the granite pyramid and all that before the oil boom. So we had a lot of prospects in Nigeria, which most people are not really looking at now. Everybody is now looking at oil, technology, and all that. But even in agriculture, you also have technology. You can actually.
It's evolving.
It's evolving.
It's not like
Exactly.
one with the days that you have equipment, farm tools now.
Exactly.
Equipment,
Exactly.
industrial equipment that can
Exactly.
actually.
You also have AIs on farms that can help detect different things on your farm. The quantity of water each plant needs. You can actually employ AI in your farming. So if we're talking about youth in agriculture, we also need to let them know that it's beyond picking up the hoe and going to the farm. There's a whole lot in the value chain of agriculture. So it's actually exciting for me. Every day I wake up, I get to see new things in agriculture. I'm excited about it. And there's a whole lot in the future coming up. And I think the young people need to be involved. So for me, being in agriculture, agribusiness, I see myself as a spearhead, sort of, or a motivation and inspiration to the young people that they too can actually get involved in agriculture or agribusiness and do so much so well.
Parents, how
Ah,
did they embrace that?
no,
Most of our African parents,
you know,
when they send you to school, they expect that you toe that line
exactly.
of discipline. So you now deviating.
Yeah.
How did they take it?
Well, they didn't take it well in the beginning. One thing about life is people may not really see what you're seeing, but allow the result announce you. When people are not in on that same frequency that you are, don't explain. Allow your result announce you. So I had my falls. I had my different times where it didn't seem like there's something here, but I kept pushing because I wanted to prove a point. Yes, I lost some money. And so at the point I was asking myself, hey, why don't you just leave this nonsense and go get a job? You know. But one thing about people that are aspiring to do something different is when you look back and you know that failure is it's not an option at all. Then you just keep pushing. So that also happened for me. And at the point, my parents began to see what I was seeing. I think it was my mom to, first of all, caught that when I had this Zoom session where I was, anchoring programs for women, and I was actually working with a Canadian company, an organization, Africa Evolved. And then we're looking at planting moringa trees, about 50 million moringa trees across African countries and all that. So I was involved. I was actually the head of missions for Nigeria at the point. So it was actually a big role for me, trying to work with people, in government and individuals and all that. So I invited my mom to one of those sessions, and then that was the first time she heard me really talk passionately about, agriculture. And this man stayed all through. I didn't know. After the meeting, she called me and was like, was that you or somebody else? And that was how she bought into it. She called my dad and told him, your daughter is doing something different. What you're seeing is not what she's saying. And then I remember one day my dad called and he called me my fellow CEO. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, okay, I think it's ringing a bell now for them. So in the beginning, it was not really easy, but I thank God I didn't give up. Yeah.
So, what are the challenges you face, or you think
Okay.
who may want to delve into agribusiness should anticipate to experience?
There are a lot of challenges, especially business here in Nigeria, unfortunately, or business in Africa. Nigeria is a very unique place that needs to be understudied, you know. So agribusiness is not an exception. So there are a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles. For me, the first challenge I faced, remember I didn't study agriculture, was a lack of proper mentorship. I didn't have anybody, though I had, but not quite, that took me by the hand and walked me through. It's different when somebody had made a mistake and you're learning from the person's
Yeah,
mistake,
exactly.
and all that. But I didn't have that, so I made all the mistakes myself.
Mm.
So I learned through my own mistakes, and all. So that's one of the hurdles I think we should address properly here in Nigeria. We should have a forum where young people can actually learn from those that are in the business. I'm sure with that we'd have a lot of people looking into agribusiness. Another hurdle we face in Nigeria is limited access to facilities like funding, land, and all that. You just have to go find it yourself. Fortunately for me, I had a bit of funding from the federal government, 300,000 at the time, because during the youth service, I went for one of the trainings. The government gave us 300,000 naira and held back our NYSC certificate as a collateral, and then we're supposed to pay back after 1 year or two.
So, were you able
Pay
to?
back. Yes, I need my certificate. I paid back
How were you able to raise
for my
what
business.
business? Okay, from your business.
Yes, for my business. I had to make it work. Yeah, I
Exactly. I
lost.
think that was one of the motivating factors for you.
Exactly. I had to make it work for myself. Though, like I said initially, I lost part of the money because I didn't really know so much. But I went back. I kept doing what I had to do. But currently, I'm sure there are a lot of persons that want to start up agri-business or go into business, but they have limited funding. They don't know where to look to access this funding and all that. So those are the challenges we face in agribusiness. Like I said, firstly, mentorship. Number two, the lack of or limited facility. Then number three is exposure. I tell people, agribusiness in Nigeria is we are far behind other countries of the world. You know, I feel we should lead in that aspect. You know,
That's the
it,
giant that we are.
yes, as a giant that we are, and we have the land mass, we have the population, we have the teeming population that can actually, the manpower that can actually drive these things. Nigeria can feed the world, but we are underutilizing what we have, what God has given us. So we need to start exposing our youth the right way, exposing them to agribusiness. Else, in the nearest future, if not the nearest future, it's happening now, there's going to be a gap. Those parents that are farmers are getting weak. They can no longer use those tools. So who is taking over from them? The young people want to go to town, go to Lagos, go make money quickly from crypto, from all that, which is good. But then, excuse me, you can't do other business if you've not fed yourself. So that gap is beginning to widen, and we need to start exposing our young people to the fact that there is an opportunity there. Then finally, we also need to the federal government, which and other private institutions that have the capacity to bring in these modern equipment like the harvesters, the planters, and make it available to people that are willing to go into farming. We need to really, really do that. Yes, I know they've tried, they've done that, but the availability, it's not everybody that can actually access, those things. So we need to make it really, really available to the young people. So those are the challenges I
What
feel we
about
have.
I was expecting you were going to mention the issue of insecurity. A lot of
Yes,
persons
I
are shying away from, and you wouldn't blame them because nobody are looking for daily bread. Nobody wants anything to happen to them while at it. So the
yeah.
issue of insecurity is also another one.
Another
be able to, and also farmers headers
crisis.
crisis and all that. So what's so
I think that brings us to our topic, the urban farming.
urban farming? Yeah. So while we are coming
Yes,
to
we're
that. So
coming to
many
that.
people now, because of that, are now tilting towards urban
Urban,
agriculture,
exactly. Yeah,
urban farming,
urban
or
farming.
you can also still call it backyard farming.
Mm-hmm.
You can do your farming anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
let's dive straight into that. So
Yeah.
urban farming. Tell our viewers what is urban farming.
Let me redress back to the insecurity issue because let's not pretend it's not there. It's not just a national problem; it's actually a global problem. The insecurities and all, which had grossly affected farming. You um, I think it's not bad. I mentioned that next year is not going to be funny when it comes to food supply in the country, because a lot of people couldn't go to farm. So insecurity had played a major role in hampering, the effectiveness of farmers on the farm, and it's something we really, really need to look into. But as individuals, as farmers, we need to evolve. We need to start looking at better ways of farming, and safer ways of farming, which now brings us into urban farming. So urban farming is just utilizing spaces within the developed cities or urban areas to farm. So there are different ways to actually carry out urban farming. Say you have a space in town, a land, you can actually farm on the land. We see that around here in Abuja. If you're driving past a bridge close to the water, you see people farming there. That's urban farming. You know, then you can also look at urban farming in a way that your own home, you can convert your flower beds, your backyard to farm.
Ijoma, I actually got carried away that I forgot to even call for break. If you're just joining us, the program you're watching is TOSIN'S Corner, and we are discussing agribusiness, urban farming, and the like. Don't go nowhere. TOSIN'S Corner continues in our topic. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is TOSIN'S Corner, and we are discussing urban farming, agribusiness. I have Ijoma still in the studio. So, is agribusiness is it lucrative? Because many Nigerians, many people, and I wouldn't blame them. I'm also one of them. Any business you want to venture into a business, you want to know how the profitability of that particular venture before you dabble into it. So, is it lucrative?
Yes, agribusiness is absolutely lucrative because, like I said earlier, there's no waste in agriculture. A waste to a section of agriculture is actually not a waste to another part of agriculture. I know farms that do integrated farming where, you know, um, they have the chicken poo, the poop, they use it to feed the fish.
Yeah.
The fish, the water from the fish, they use to water their vegetables. From the vegetables, you have feed from the vegetables to feed them. So it's like a
Even
cycle.
cow dung
Cow
as
dung,
manure.
yes, you can use it, and there's a whole lot. Agriculture is the mother of all other aspects of business or aspects of life. Agriculture is the mother of all of them because we're talking about biofuels, talking about green energy. You also look into agriculture.
And of course, from the way you're grinning from ear to ear discussing this, I'll still ask you the question: do you
Okay.
enjoy what you do?
Okay, like you said, I'm grinning from ear to ear because I enjoy what
I
I
just want to
do.
hear from the horse's mouth.
I enjoy what I do because if I don't enjoy what I do, I shouldn't be here talking about agriculture. But anytime I'm called upon to discuss agribusiness, it's an opportunity to express myself because we interact with with the plants and a few persons here and there. But then having to discuss that and let people know that there's a whole lot in agriculture, I find the opportunity a beautiful one. So yes, I enjoy what I do totally. The value chain of agriculture is a whole lot. We have the different sections. Let me just break it down this way. We have what we call the pre-upstream, the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. So the pre-upstream feeds the upstream. So where most people have a challenge with is the upstream. Oh, I don't want to go to the farm. I don't want to get my nails dirty. I don't want to go do all that. There's a whole lot there. The pre-upstream provides you with the tools you need for the upstream, which is like machineries, inputs like fertilizers and all that.
So thank you so much for coming on the show. Ijeoma Ndulu is the CEO of Jesney Farms and Consult. Thank you for watching. See you next time for another interesting edition of TOSIN'S Corner.